One day they seemed absolutely fine, and the next day drunk off their face, smashing the kitchen up. Hello and welcome to the Rosset Bespoke YouTube channel. Now today we're going to talk about your mental health, my mental health, well, everyone's obviously. This is a video that I've actually been holding off from making because it felt after like the lockdowns and COVID, like everybody was making mental health videos. And to be honest, a lot of them were people that seemed to have nothing particular to say about it. Just nothing useful anyway. So I didn't want to just be another voice saying nothing. But what I thought I'd do is share some of my experiences that you may or may not have comfort and advice from. When people talk about depression, alcoholism, other problems with people in the hospitality industry, in the private service industry, whether they be butlers or private chefs or anything like that, they quite often cite causes like long hours, ability to get hold of as much alcohol as they like, hard work, things like that. And of course these are contributing factors, but in my experience it's loneliness that gets people. I was really lucky that when I started as a butler, I worked in a huge team. I left home and very soon I found myself in what was basically a huge family in a very large stately home with grounds. There was about 500 people that worked there. So there was always plenty of people to spend time with. The head butler was like a sort of father figure to me and would give me good advice. The other footmen and chefs were, kind of brotherly and sisterly, and I was so lucky to have that. Later on in my career, when I became a private butler for a single gentleman, I learned that it isn't always like that. When you're travelling with the principal especially, you will literally have no one really to speak to for surprisingly long periods of time. The principal will usually share time of day with you and possibly chat with you, but you're always very aware that you're only being chatted with in absence of someone else, which is fair enough because that's your job. You're not there to be amused by the principal, of course you're not. That's not what he or she pays you for. But nonetheless, days and days where you might literally talk to no one other than a couple of shopkeepers is actually quite difficult for humans because we are social animals. And the interesting thing is you're generally too busy to phone your friends and family or anything like that. And when you finish your shift, it's too late or you're too tired. And the most you can really do is maybe to read a bit of a book for like 1.5 pages and then fall asleep with the book on your face. This takes an incredible toll on the mental state of a person. Because it's not like meditation or something like that where you can use that alone time to try and reach a higher state. You're always busy. You're always concentrating on various tasks that you have to achieve and you have to achieve well. So clearing your mind is very much not an option. Now again, another thing that I was very lucky. I was very lucky that my father was a chain-smoking alcoholic who left when I was very young. Not often you'll hear that statement, to be fair, but I'll explain. The reason why I'm lucky about that was from a very early age, it taught me the perils of addiction. I think you could almost refer to me as an addiction phobic. I'm quite happy to go out for a drink, but I would never feel comfortable if I felt the need to I specifically dislike gambling. I don't see the point of smoking. And various other things. And this has helped me a lot, to be honest, because I've seen a lot of others who have done jobs very, very similar to myself and who outwardly probably had a better start than me fall by the wayside. Many good friends I've seen start with just having a few drinks with the lads, to then when they're on their own they still have that few drinks. Then very soon they're sneaking bottles of spirit or things like that into their room to drink a bottle of spirit before they go to bed. And then unfortunately it's a very, very tiny step from that to having to drink a bottle of spirit every night before they go to bed. People always make excuses to themselves. Again, we're humans, it's totally normal, totally natural. People will say things like, well, I can't sleep otherwise because I'm so het up by everything that's happened during the day. It's the only relaxation I get. These are the kind of things that people say to justify it. They're not really trying to justify it to anyone else. They're only trying to justify it to themselves. As I say, I've seen it happen far too many times. But the real question is, and the important thing is, well, what can we do about it? It's all very well and good for me to say it's a problem, but without trying to offer up a solution, it's totally pointless. And again, it's easy to say something like, oh, well, we just need to treat people better. But it's not actually always a case of people being treated badly. It's just people being put in a situation. First step is usually loneliness. As you know, as everybody knows, you can be in the busiest city in the world. You could be in New York, London, Bangkok, anywhere, surrounded by millions of people and be totally alone. Or you could be living on a Scottish island with a population of 1,000 and feel like you have more friends who you can even cope with. But what we need to do is understand the importance of those friends. Understand that we need them. And we often need them just to do our job well. Time moves strangely when you're working in a private house, especially if the principal is away for long periods. I would often be working in the London mansion for weeks and the principal wouldn't even be there. I wouldn't see him. I'd receive a few emails of stuff to do, but I wouldn't see him. So there were several times when I literally thought to myself, I have not spoken to anyone for days at all, not even a shopkeeper. Is that good for you? Everyone's different. Of course, some people might say that that's their dream, and I totally understand that. I'm someone that's genuinely quite good at being on my own, but I acknowledge my limit. And of course, we all have to find our limit, but finding our limit involves finding our comfort zone. And sometimes that involves going beyond our comfort zone, but we have to be able to bring it back in. There's always someone to talk to. It's just the longer we go without talking to people, the harder it is to talk to them. I've seen too many people, too many chefs, too many butlers, too many housekeepers relying on that bottle of vodka, that bottle of gin, that case of beers. It reminds me of a film you probably haven't seen, Ice Cold in Alex, where the hero/anti-hero of the film is struggling against his alcohol addiction, where he tries to be the man that he really should be. I think it's one of the greatest depictions. So what can we do to make this better? Well, the people who can really make this better are not so much the people that it's happening to. They're the people around them. So if you work in a household and you start to see the first signs of this, you start to think, that's another time that he's turned up for work smelling of booze. That's another time that he's got up late. Or she, of course, not just he or she. Personally, now obviously I'm not a psychologist, but I wouldn't recommend coming straight out and at them and combating them with it. I just recommend trying to take away some of the loneliness that may well be the root cause. Try and do something with them. Try and take them somewhere, not a pub, that will entertain them and make them realise that they have friends. I've worked with several chefs that have totally gone off the rails. One day they seem absolutely fine, and the next day they're literally threatening people with knives, drunk off their face, smashing the kitchen up. Now, at the time it felt like there was no warning, but with years of experience what I've started to realise is there were warnings. I just either chose to ignore them or wasn't aware of what they were, or maybe a bit of both, to be honest with you. So I want to say to you, try not to ignore those warnings. Try and make a friend. Try and help them out. You might save their career, their marriage, their life even. Right, that's me. So thank you very much. I know it's not as upbeat as my usual videos, but I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.